Some are calling it the worst humanitarian crisis in the world today. Nearly 1 million civilians are fleeing the fighting between Syrian forces of Bashar Assad, backed by Russia, and rebel Islamist groups backed by Turkish President Erdogan in the northeastern Syrian province of Idlib. The UN is sounding the alarm.
We remain very alarmed about the safety and protection of over 3 million civilians in Idlib and its surrounding areas in the northwestern part of Syria, as reports of airstrikes and shelling continue to take a heavy toll on the civilian population.
Various sources report Turkey has supplied some of these al-Qaeda groups with U.S.-supplied weapons. And our Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now with more. Chris, elaborate on that. U.S. weapons in the hands of terrorists? What's going on?
Well, Mark, that's a concern of many over here. The idea is that Erdogan is backing many of these Islamic groups that have sought refuge in Idlib. That's probably the last place where these rebel groups that are Islamist groups tried to overthrow the Assad regime backed by Russia. So what Turkey is doing, what Erdogan is doing, is actually giving some of these groups U.S.-supplied weapons, and that's really a danger for a lot of people. He's also asking the United States to provide Patriot anti-missile batteries to protect the groups as they're coming out. We know that last year he worked with the Free Syrian Army, that is Erdogan. That was an Islamist group that he used to invade parts of northeast Syria. So there's a concern of many. There's actually a solution proposed for this whole crisis, Mark, by Walid Ferraz. He wants the UN to really take over Idlib and the neighboring province of Afrin, a situation he believes would be much better for the people of Idlib and that part of Syria.
Chris, what is the human cost of this crisis in Syria?
Well, Mark, it's hard to overestimate the human cost over there. Talking about nearly 1 million people that are trying to flee, another 2 or 3 million that are displaced within that region. It's winter right now in Syria. Some people are having to make the decision whether or not to burn the clothes of their children, if you can consider it's getting that desperate for some people. Also, food is scarce and housing is scarce. And many of these people have been moving from place to place during this whole Syrian civil war. They're in the middle of a war zone, and really one thing that's really telling, Mark, has been a video that's gone viral, and it's a father playing with his daughter, playing a game. So every time there's an airstrike, an explosion, he says, well, isn't that something we should laugh about? So they're laughing about an airstrike, and really poignant observation he made. He says, well, even if we die, we'll die laughing. So that just gives you an idea of the human cost of nearly 1 million people or more, not too far away from here in Israel, inside northeast Syria.
Heartbreaking to hear. What about the Christians who are still there?
Well, many of the Christians have already fled, but some of their homes, in fact, one report says that more than 500 homes and businesses that have been owned by Christians have been confiscated by some of these Islamic terrorist groups. They're using those homes as some of their bases. But many, as I said, people have fled, and really this has been repeated over and over in the last several years throughout Middle East, whether it's in Syria, northern Iraq. So many of these Christians have fled, and those that have remained, many have had their homes and businesses confiscated.